Welcome everyone to another edition of Play It Through, and on this edition it's Ys Book 1 and 2 for the Turbografix CD. Ys Book 1 and 2 is the first two Ys games bundled together into an enhanced remake. Ys is a long-running Japanese action RPG series that has a pretty shaky release record in terms of North America and Europe. Both Ys 1 and Ys 2 were released for different computer systems in Japan, but only Ys 1 was brought over to North America for the Master System. Ys Book 1 and 2 is the first time North American audiences had a chance to play Ys 2. So with the introduction out of the way, let's begin our epic journey into Ys Book 1 and 2.
Ys, the ideal utopia. Once a country so peaceful and prosperous. A country where children were as free as the wind. A country where harmony blew through the hearts of all men. Ys, a kingdom ruled by the wisdom and charity of its 6 powerful priests. An empire watched over and blessed by the enchanting aura of its 2 beautiful goddesses. Ys, the seemingly tranquil paradise, suddenly pulled from the height of its civilization to the empty abyss of infinite isolation. How could such a land of promise simply vanish from the face of the planet? How could such prosperity be forgotten? The legend has been silenced for over 700 years. And now, the mystery unfolds.
After our introduction gives us a little brief synopsis of what's going on in the Ys world, we then get to see our main character Adel, who's the main character for all the Ys games, arriving on a boat in the town of Mania in the land of Asteria. As you can see, our gameplay is a top-down view similar to games such as the Legend of Zelda series. To attack enemies, you actually just run into them to do damage to them. This was later changed in remakes of the Ys series, giving you more of a chance of actually being able to swing the sword closer to Zelda. When I get to areas where I will grind out some levels, I will cut out the grinding, but I'll tell you where I was, and then I'll continue on where to go next. So now that we have gained control of our character, we go slightly off-screen into the main town, and as you can see, we start off right in front of this store. As we go inside, we meet one of our first main characters of the game, Sarah. As we meet with Sarah for the first time, she informs us of the evil that's going around this world, and tells us that we're the only ones that can save the world from this darkness. Before we can get going though, we're going to have to buy some items, and then she'll give us our actual quest. While we do have a little bit of gold to buy our sword and shield, instead of buying those items right away, instead we're going to stop by the shop and buy a sapphire ring. Now it does cost 1,000 gold, so there goes all our money, but this way we can actually gain some experience as well as some extra money to buy our sword and armor back. Go over to the bar, and once you're inside you'll be able to choose 3 men to talk to. Talk to the one-eyed man, and he'll give you 1,500 gold for the sapphire ring, as well as 50 experience to gain your first level. You can talk to the other people in the bar to get a little bit more information, including some info on the Rhoda tree. Now that that's taken care of, let's go to the shop and buy our items. Stop by the armor shop first, and we're going to buy the chain armor for 400 gold. We're then going over to the sword shop to buy our sword. Of course, right now all we can afford is the short sword, so buy that one, and make sure to equip both of them. Now that we have our sword and armor, it's time to do a little bit of training before we continue on our game. After we leave the town of Mania for the first time, we can see our big open field and our first chance to fight some enemies. As you can see, like I previously mentioned, you walk into the enemies in order to do damage to them. For the most part, on easy enemies, you're just going to walk straight into them. It may take 1 or 2 hits, but they'll go down easily. Later on in the game, when you're fighting tougher and tougher enemies, and this goes for both Ys Book 1 and 2 if you want to fight them with the sword, you're going to walk into them, hit them once, back away, and then walk into them again. If you just keep holding the direction of them and keep walking into them, more than likely you'll end up going through them and they'll end up being able to hit you. Also, if you're standing still and just let an enemy walk into you, they will do damage to you. You can see that I made my first edit there. I did a little bit of training, gained some money and experience. Now I'm going to go to this lake right here. It's just south of the bridge, if you didn't see. And now I'm actually going to be able to get an item that's going to give us a good amount of money pretty quickly. This golden vase is actually worth 2,000 gold, so that's going to be a big help to us pretty quickly. So now that we have that golden vase, we're going to head back to the town. One of the few negatives about the game is there's going to be a lot of backtracking. The worst of it will probably be in the very final dungeon of the game, where when you get to the very top of the dungeon, you then have to travel almost all the way back down to the bottom in order to get an item before you can finally defeat the last boss of the game. Once we are back in town, head to the shop where we bought the sapphire ring. This time go to sell, and sell the golden vase back to him. You now can see we have 3,428 gold, which is plenty in order to buy our next items. With that bit of money, we're going to go to the armor shop and buy the small shield for 700. With that 2,000 that we got from the golden vase, we're going to go to the sword shop and actually buy the second sword pretty quickly in the game. Buy the long sword. One of the few downsides of the game, though, is you can't trade or sell any of your items that you pick up back to any of the shops once you don't need them anymore. So now we have our full set of equipment. Make sure everything is equipped as I equip my new sword and shield. and then go back to Sarah to get our mission in the game.